Okay. All right. We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me tonight. This is episode 2 of Line to Gain. I'm Corey James. As you know, most of the people that joined in for the first episode, friends and family, um, appreciate that. If uh, if you're joining us tonight, go ahead and say hello right in the chat. Get to talking. We got some fun stuff to go over tonight. One of my favorite things, draft coming up quick. Not very far away, if I'm not mistaken, and I think we're about 60 days away from the draft, somewhere in that ballpark. Exciting stuff. You know, it's kind of you're typically only excited about the draft if your team is really bad, and thus picking, in that top 10 of picks. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's like you kind of want to eventually not be excited for the draft. So let me know how it's coming through tonight. Let me make sure that the connection sounds good. Drop a comment. Make sure everything's to your liking. Tonight we've got a special. We went with Bullet last week. This week we're going with the little Harp Lager. One of the harder ones for me to find. I can't ever find Harp Lager just in the store anywhere. So we had some comments. I posted, what do we want to drink tonight during the show, and um, one of the people, Woo Go Sports, thanks, baby. Um, Somebody said Bush lattes, always a good one. Another person said, I think it was a KBS, Kentucky Barrel Stout, something like that. Um, Kentucky Bourbon Stout, I think is what it's called actually. And then I got another one. Oh, John told Victoria. I've never had Victoria. It looks like a cerveza. If I find it, I'm definitely gonna buy it. I'm a big Modelo fan, so if it's similar in that vein, I'm definitely gonna be enjoying that one. We got Harp tonight. A little tribute to my daughter Harper, and it's one of my favorite beers. It's not a twist off. We came prepared for you, for you. Let's pour up and get started here, huh? What a week. What a week. Hmm. Beautiful. Beautiful. Cheers. Oh, can't beat it. All right. So we got a couple of things that we're going to be talking about tonight. First, we're going to talk about the draft. Over the week, I was kind of posting some of the mock drafts that I had a chance to do, and most of it actually centered around the Lions. I was actually kind of surprised, um, that Bengals mock drafts and I did one Browns mock draft. It is ridiculously difficult to do a mock draft for a number 26 overall pick. I mean, after in these mock drafts, like I'm a casual fan, maybe a little bit a step above casual, but like in these mock drafts, it's like, after the first round, I don't really know a whole lot about these guys, so I'm going off a lot of what like PFS says about them and just basically position and overall ranking on their on their big board and trying to make it fit for the team. So forgive me if like in my fourth round pick for the Browns, you're like, we would never take that guy. Tell me why. Learn me up a little bit, I guess. Other than that, we got some more kind of like a twofold, really, winds of change in Cincinnati. We talked about it last week. Culture change and how we feel like that's coming and things like that. And talked a little bit about that for the Lions as well. How we feel that that's coming along. And you can kind of, there are some key indicators that will tell you that that is what's happening. And um, I believe it was Elizabeth Blackburn released a statement uh, earlier this week, might have been Tuesday, just kind of commenting on her vision for the Bengals. And we're going to talk about that, talk about the Blackburns in general. And also, there's kind of a movement. And we talked about this person last week as well, Ken Riley. As we mentioned, number 5 all time in interceptions, long time Cincinnati Bengal in days of old. And we talked about how it's kind of a misjustice now, rest in peace, Ken Riley, but that he is not in the Hall of Fame. And the kind of confusion around why that is and explaining that, has a lot to do with the lack of recognition that his own team gave him. Well, some developments are happening on the fan side of that. You're seeing kind of a wave of fans taking control, taking ownership of the fact that some of their favorite players are not being recognized on the national level, and we'll talk a little bit about that today too. But I tell you, man, this Harp lager, you can't beat it. You can't beat it. Walking through Costco today, and they had an Irish pub pack. If you haven't had Harp lager imported from Ireland, jump on it. It's delicious. If you're not a Guinness person, you don't really like the red ales of like the Killians, and you're looking for something for St. Patty's, if you can find a Harp lager, like I said earlier, it's a tough find, man. But if you can find it, jump on it. Enjoy it. Can't wait for St. Patty's. 16 days away. It's going to be beautiful. All right. So let's jump into it. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about what the strategy is here in drafting. So when you're sitting at, and I'm mainly going to focus on the Bengals and the Lions here because let's be honest, they have the premium picks. Bengals 5, Lions at 7. They've got the premium picks right now, and you have a lot more control over your destiny sitting up there than you do where the Browns are back at 26. So, just kind of jumping into it a little bit. Let's take a look at the Lions. I did a Lions mock draft, and this was, let's see here, pulling it up. So you're sitting at that. I digress. I want to start with the Bengals, a little bit easier, starting from the number 5 pick. The strategy that you really want to be coming in here is with, all right, and we talked about this last week. I'm sitting at 5, okay? There's 4 other picks that are ahead of me. And just process of, common sense, knowing football, the number 1 overall pick, does that team need a quarterback? If the answer is yes, then we can assume that a quarterback is going there. So we made that assumption that it's either going to be Trevor Lawrence or Justin Field. One of those two guys going with the first overall pick. Obviously, a lot of people, myself included, believe that to be Trevor Lawrence. This guy's been talked about for the last 4 years. It seems like it, at least. Maybe it's only been 3, but this guy's been talked about a lot over the last few years, and it's kind of a shoe-in. So Trevor Lawrence, number 1 overall to the Jaguars. That's where we're at. So then, as the Bengals, you're sitting there, and you got 3 other picks in front of you. And we're going to pull up the draft order, and I believe the Jets are 2, and then coming in 3rd via Houston, we got the Dolphins, and then 4th is the Atlanta Falcons. Okay? So, arguably, you could say that there are three teams ahead of the Bengals that could need a quarterback. The Jets, is Sam Darnold the guy? I didn't like Sam Darnold coming out of college. Let me be very clear about that. I mentioned last week I talked to a lot of the guys about Baker when he came out of the draft. Talked to a lot of my Browns fans that are my friends, and a lot of them wanted Sam Darnold. A lot of hype. Quarterback coming out of USC typically gets a lot of hype, like Sam Darnold did. So um, I wasn't big on him initially. We're kind of seeing what I thought I saw there. Kind of his ceiling was, pretty low. There wasn't really a lot of room for him to develop after he got into the league, and we're seeing that. So do the Jets move on from Sam Darnold? Some people think yes. In fact, a lot of the times when I was doing these mock drafts on Pro Football Focus, and you can do it for yourself. I'll put a link in so that you can play around and do some of your drafts. I know Dale Hathaway, he commented on one of the posts. Clearly, he's been doing some of the mock drafts there on PFF. Definitely not a perfect system. You get some high praise for taking quarterbacks. Like Dale had mentioned that you take any if you take a quarterback in every single pick, they're going to grade it as an A plus every time, just based on the value that a quarterback brings to the organization. So it's like a value based pick. So there's some flaws there. I did do some like trades in these mock drafts, trying to like push the envelope and see how much I could really get for either the fifth pick or the seventh pick for the Lions. And there's a couple of trades in these mocks. So if you're joining the video, appreciate you guys dropping by. Go ahead and drop a like, share the video. It would be huge, be a big help. Get the word out there, get some people to join us for some cold brews and some football talk here on Sunday night. So back to the topic. We've established that a quarterback's going number one overall, and there's three other picks that separate the Bengals from that fifth. Do I think the Jets are going to take a quarterback number one? No. Number two. Do I think the Dolphins are? No. Do I think the Falcons are? Probably. So what does that say to me? It means that I think out of those next three, there's going to be at least one quarterback. We can all kind of make that assumption. I think between the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Falcons, I think there's going to be one quarterback that's taken there. Is that Justin Fields? Is that the guy at BYU? I think Zach Wilson. Sorry, escaping me tonight. Or is it Trey Lance at North Dakota State? I don't know. But I would think it's safe to say that at least one more quarterback will be taken in the top four. Okay, cool. So we've eliminated two out of the four picks ahead. Now you're looking at, let's just call it the Jets and the Dolphins. From here, from my standpoint, as a GM, I'm pretending to be the GM of the Bengals right now, and I'm thinking I need then three guys. I need three guys that I think I would want to pick, with the assumption that those other two picks, they might take two of my three guys. I'm left with one then that I know I can take. I think those three guys have already been established. Drop a comment in the chat. Let me know who you think the top three targets that aren't quarterbacks, obviously, for the Bengals at number 5 would be. In my opinion, it's Sewell. I think he's the number one target for the Bengals. You know, we got Joe Burrow. He's our Fabergé egg, right? He's our beautiful piece of franchise. He's the future of our franchise. We need some insurance now for this beautiful Fabergé egg. We got to protect it. That's why Penei Sewell is number one for me, number one target for the Bengals. There's a lot of people doing a lot of film research on him. Mostly, I think, one, because he's a phenomenal athlete. No question there. But two, is because he didn't play last year. I don't know if anybody is remembering that, but he opted out, which is fine. I don't think there's really a big flag there. You know, a lot of people did opt out, so I think that's okay. Number 2 on my list would be Jamar Chase. I've been seeing another guy that there's a lot of film happening about Jamar Chase right now, and some initial concern from some of these people doing this scouting is that Jamar Chase is kind of just a jump ball guy, right? He's got that vertical, and jump up and go get any pass that's thrown his way, basically. Well, film will tell you otherwise. Is his route running perfect? Absolutely not, but it's pretty good. Is his ability to get separation and his just overall top line speed very good? I would say yes, above average to very good Jamar Chase. In my opinion, I am sold at this point that if we take Jamar Chase at number 5, he will be the number 1 receiver on the Cincinnati Bengals. He's that good. And I love Tyler Boyd, and I think T. Higgins is going to be very special. But I don't think that either of those are number 1 receivers for the Cincinnati Bengals. So when you get an opportunity to take Jamar Chase, you do it. Now, again, according to me, my big board number 1 is Sewell. So if he's there, you take him. You don't ask any questions, you just take him. Um, if he's gone, now there are some teams that could take him. The Dolphins, as I mentioned, could take him. That's why you have these other guys in your chamber. That's why you have these other picks that you know are top 5 quality. The Dolphins could very well take him. They need some offensive line support as well. This is a perennial, generational athlete in Penei Sewell. He's fast. He's strong. He's smart. That's exactly what you want in a left tackle. Damn. We need to get Harp to Harp Lager. You want to sponsor the show? Hit me up. um, so okay, so then we got Chase at number 2, and number 3. A little bit of a homer pick, knowing that I am a Gators fan, is Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is my number 3. That third guy that kind of completes my deck of cards that I have in my hand, ready to go for that top 5 pick. Kyle Pitts is that guy to me. Bengals have a tight end. They got C.J. Uzama. We got Drew Sample, who I believe will be in his 3rd year. Made a big step last year, Drew Sample did. Pretty good progression in terms of he wasn't necessarily a huge hands guy in college. A lot of run blocking ability there. We saw some of that take a couple of steps last year, getting more involved in the passing game. And just remember, tight ends, they take a long time to develop. Most of these guys are drafted in like the 3rd or 4th round, and it takes a 2 to 3, maybe even 4 years for these guys to really become, the George Kittles that you see today. Even Zach Ertz, he didn't really burst onto the scene until I think like his 4th or 5th year. So, we might already have some weapons at tight end right now, but my point about Kyle Pitts is that he isn't just a tight end. He's faster than some wide receivers. In my mind, the comp that I see when I look at Kyle Pitts, and Lions fans pay attention because this guy very well could fall to you at 7. I know Lions fans have had these horrifying experiences of drafting tight ends early and then them just not panning out. I think it's Pettigrew, Eric Ebron, Hawkinson now. Hawkinson's making some steps, though. Let's give him a little break. But the problem with picking tight ends so early is that they basically, if you're going to use a pick that high on a tight end, like they better be George Kittle or they better be Gronk or, Mark Andrews. They better be that good. Antonio Gates, one of these guys that are, Travis Kelce, eventual Hall of Famers. They better be that good. If you're using that premium of a pick on a tight end, you better get that, that ROI. I'm not saying that he's a Hall of Famer. I just know Kyle Pitts is so much more than just a tight end based on his speed. Yes, he can block. He took some steps last year in improving his ability to block for the run game. His route running, he can basically lull a defender to sleep as he's running the intermediate route and then break it off with some top line speed and get 4 or 5 yards of separation with a young quarterback like Joe Burrow, or who the Lions eventually, if they don't get him this year, next year will have a young quarterback. A guy like Kyle Pitts is an excellent resource to have, an outlet, somebody that's got very sure hands, very good route running, very good speed. I mean, I'd love to have him on my team. The scariest thing is I see San Francisco sitting down. I think they're at they're not at 9. The Broncos are at 9. but they're somewhere in that like top 15. San Francisco is, and just think about the nightmares that the 49ers could give people if they had George Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk, and Kyle Pitts all on their teams, the kind of packages that they could run, let alone Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, who made some awesome progress. I think he might, just due to Debo's injuries last year, I think Brandon Ayuk was probably the one of the best, options for the 49ers on offense last year. I had him on my fantasy team, so I'm a little bit biased there. I know you don't care about my fantasy team, but I was a little bit biased there because, but I saw his production firsthand, right? So you're sitting there as the Bengals. You've got your three guys. We've already discussed that. You know, we think that two quarterbacks are going to go in the top four minimum. So that's why you get to that three mark. That mark that tells you, you know, I've got three guys in my back pocket that I know I can make my pick at five, even if two of them are taken. Under the assumption again that two quarterbacks will be taken in the top four. So did some mock drafts, like I said. And if you guys are joining in the video, welcome. I appreciate you. Drop a like, drop a share, get it on out to everybody. Let's grow the Line to Game family. Um, my first mock draft, and I'm only going to go through the first three picks that I was able to get. I was saying earlier, man. I Once we get beyond like the top 100 prospects, it's really I have no idea who these people are. I'm not that analytical. If you have like a fourth round sleeper that you know a lot about just based on your college fanhood, please tell me about them. I want to look at them. Um, so, Penny got him with the fifth overall pick. Then we get Wyatt Davis, guard out of Ohio State, with a 37th overall pick in the second round, back to back. Under this draft. I went in with the mindset that the Bengals didn't shore up the offensive line in free agency, which might happen. we as Bengals fans know, last year could have been an anomaly that they spent that much in free agency. I hope it's not. They have a lot of money to be able to, improve this team in the coming weeks through free agency. As we discussed last week, about $45 million, more than the Browns, more than the Lions, about twice as much as the Browns, actually. So please, God, do it. So let's assume that they don't, right? We get Penne and then Wyatt Davis. Ohio State fans, if you know about this guy, please talk to me about him. Is he a stud? Let me know. Does he suck? I'm a little weary about offensive linemen coming out of Ohio State as from the last couple of years. Billy Price and Michael Jordan. Not that Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan coming out of Ohio State. Lackluster development, to say the least. But that could change. We could see some improvement, especially with Frank Pollock coming back as the Bengals offensive line coach. If you didn't know that, I don't know where you've been, but yeah, Frank's coming back. It's going to be exciting. I think there's a lot of people in the room. Joe Mixon, one of them, very excited to have Frank Pollock back as the offensive line coach. So hopefully we can see some improvements in the run game. And then went with a little bit of help on defense. Eric Stokes, cornerback out of Georgia. Again, don't really know a whole lot about Eric Stokes. Was kind of picking on based on best player available. Where are we at, and what could help the team. I'm under the impression that the Bengals very well might just not re-sign William Jackson III. Do I think they should? Yeah. If I had to pick between him or Carl Lawson for them to extend in this offseason, Carl Lawson gets my vote. I think we can improve at corner. Definitely not in the first pick, but there are some good corners that we could take in the later rounds of this draft. Moving on to the second one, second mock draft that I did for the Bengals. If I can get it to load here. Cool. So, my second mock draft, I did some moving, a lot of moving, but we're not going to. Those were mostly in the later rounds, but we'll talk a little bit about um, just about the first 3-4 picks. Actually, quick anecdotal note: in that last one, I got Trey Sermon, running back for Ohio State, and I think it was the fifth round, fourth round. So there are some talks that Giovanni Bernard could be cut, just as a kind of an extra. I think it's like 14 mil or something like that, just to free it up in the cap room. But personally, I want Gio. I like him. I think he's sometimes I even think Giovanni Bernard might be better than Joe Mixon in his ability to move within between the tackles. Do I think Joe Mixon is more electric? Yes, but Giovanni, I mean, it's just a model of consistency, really. So in this one, Penne did go to the Dolphins. In my second mock draft, Penei Sewell went to the Dolphins, and actually Jamar Chase went to the Falcons. Some talk there that there's a lot of cap space being eaten up by. There are some anomalies, so let me just throw that out there. Like Larry Fitzgerald, for one, production didn't drop off as steep at once he hit 30. But a lot of wide receivers, after they hit 30, the production really, really starts to decline. So, AJ Green, Julio Jones are about the same age. They came in the same draft class. You know, I'm not necessarily one that's going to advocate for spending more money for an aging receiver when the quality of the product that you're going to get is just going to go down. Now, can teams find alternate roles for them to be a pivotal part of the offense? Yes. But with those roles in the offense being different, should you have to pay the premium that you're going to have to pay to get a Julio or an AJ Green? I don't think so. Not for me. So, Penne was gone. Excuse me. Penne was gone. Went to the Dolphins. Jamar Chase was gone. Went to the Falcons. So you play that third card. Kyle Pitts taken fifth overall. And the reason why I'm comfortable doing that, and some Bengals fans might cringe. We don't need another weapon. We've got a lot of weapons sitting around Joe Burrow right now, which is true. The reason I'm okay doing that at 5, taking Kyle Pitts out of Florida, is because this draft is absolutely loaded with offensive tackles. There's a lot of really good talent this year at offensive tackle. It's a very good year to need a tackle. Let's put it that way. Because you can get good quality play at the tackle position through like mid-second round this year. A lot of really good players. So the guy that we ended up getting in this mock draft at 37 is Samuel Cosmi. I don't know a lot about him, but apparently the according to PFF, didn't let up a lot of pressures, didn't give up a lot of sacks, solid, consistent player, didn't miss games. Um, Very good rated, 37th overall is where we got him. Very good rating on Samuel. And then with the next pick, we got Jalen Mayfield, 69, another offensive tackle, listed as a tackle out of the University of Michigan. Some of our Sparty fans are going to cringe out of that. But basically, the notes on this guy are that he is a freak athlete. He'll likely slide inside when he moves to the NFL. Maybe it's a size thing, or maybe his speed is better utilized on the inside, running trap runs, pulling the guards, things like that. So the mindset there was that we get another weapon for Joe Burrow at number 5, Kyle Pitts. Freak athlete, nobody like him out there, doesn't drop passes, and then we shore up the offensive line with Samuel Cosmi and then Jalen Mayfield out of Michigan. And looking at the current offensive line, both of those people could be starters. So if you're getting 3 starters out of your first 3 picks, you're doing something right. You're doing a good job in the draft. Not everybody gets that, but picking where the Bengals are, top 5, it'll happen more often than not because, basically our third round pick is like a late second round pick in terms of talent. Does that make sense? Our second round pick is basically like a late first round pick, just because of where it stacks up in the draft. Any other, I'm just kind of perusing here. Any other notable picks? Made some trades at 150. That'd be our fifth round pick. Traded back with the Panthers. Ended up with a linebacker out of TCU. A couple back to back trades, stacking up some draft capital for the future years. Which, as I'm doing this, I was thinking if I'm a GM, like I understand you can find some gems in like the fifth round, in the sixth round, and maybe even the seventh round. Not really, but maybe. But if I'm a GM and I have picked four guys, let's just say, in the first, second, third, and fourth round picks, after that, I'm looking to trade my draft capital for better picks next year. So let me explain. Like, if I've made four draft picks, rounds one, two, three, four, and I'm sitting there with the fifth pick in the fifth round, I would more likely trade that for a fourth round pick next year and a sixth round pick this year. So trade back in the draft, get a sixth round pick and like a fourth, maybe even a third round pick next year. Forego that pick this year for a better draft position next year. And then you're sitting with at least two fourth rounders. Then you could say, all right, I would trade one of those fourth rounders and, a third rounder to get back up in the second round of this year. So you can use that draft capital to move yourself into a better position to get better players. There's not a whole lot of times that you're seeing fifth, sixth, seventh round guys. It happens, don't get me wrong, that are just absolute studs. There's a reason that these athletes are taken in the first four rounds, and it's because they're beasts. They're good. There's been a lot of tape on them, and the scouts know what it is. Again, I understand that there are athletes out there, there are football players that get taken in these later rounds, but if I had the ability to trade a fifth, sixth, or seventh round pick this year for a better round pick next year, I'm going to do it every time. Welcome. Looks like we're getting some more viewers strolling in. I appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Welcome. This one is unofficially brought to you, Harp Lager. If you're not a Guinness fan or don't like the red ales, I'm saying St. Patty's Day, get on the imported from Ireland Harp Lager. It's one of my favorites. Couldn't find. Actually, I just didn't have time to get to the store to do to get I got like Bush lattes were recommended for the beer for tonight. There was Victoria by Moonja a little. Anyway, so yeah, it's good, refreshing beer. Back in the day at the Bowling Green State University, a little place called the Stones Throw, only place that served Harp Lager. And it was an Irish pub there in Bowling Green, beautiful Bowling Green, and fantastic, fantastic beer. All right, last mock draft for the Bengals that we're gonna go over, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about the Lions. And this one again, we got Penny. We got Penny Sewell at number 5. He was available, and you take him. And again, I'm gonna emphasize this: don't get cute here, Bengals. Like, if Sewell is available at 5, you take him. That's it. I don't care if you've gotten, you know, if you've signed an offensive tackle in free agency. Make your offensive line room that much better. Sign an offensive tackle in free agency, please, and then put him on the bench. Because if you're signing him in free agency, it means that the team that currently has them didn't want to fork up the money to pay him. And if you can get that and Sewell with the 5th pick, you do it. Make your offensive line one of the best in the division. The Browns currently have done it. They have the best offensive line in the division. They might have one of, if not the best offensive line in football. It's good. So got Penne with the 5th overall pick. Hey, if you're joining us, drop a like, share the video, say hello in the chat. I want to know who's watching. I want to say hello to you. I appreciate you guys spending your Sunday nights with me. So with the 5th pick, we took Sewell. Then at the 37th pick, so our second round pick, I traded that with the Patriots for the 47th and the 99th pick. So then we got two picks there out of that one. Jumping down to the 47th pick, we got Jabril Cox, linebacker out of LSU, adding even more to that linebacker group. And the reason here is just because of his athletic ability. I don't think that, we took a lot of linebackers in last year's draft. I think we took three. Logan Wilson, um, shoot, Akeem Davis, I believe, was another one. And I'm blanking. There's a guy from App State. There was the Logan Wilson out of Wyoming, and I'm blanking on who the other one is. If you remember, let me know. But I think we took three linebackers in the draft last year. Um, this position is just one that has become more important in my mind. It's an underpaid position because if you can find an athlete that can stop the run, can cover the pass, can move quickly, communicate on defense, is smart, football IQ is high. There's a lot you can do with a linebacker these days, and the position has so much changed. It has changed so much over the last just even like 10 years. The Bengals are pretty late to the party in getting getting linebackers that can cover. Talked about that last week too, but um, if we can get an athlete in the linebacker position, run them on the edge. Run them as an edge rusher, as a pass rusher on some plays. You don't have to line them up in the box every single time. You get them on that outside. See if you can make some plays in the backfield. And then with that other pick that we got from New England, we got Christian Uphoff, safety out of Illinois State, followed up by Kelvin Joseph as that'd be our third round pick, cornerback out of the University of Kentucky. So this draft was kind of under the mindset that the Bengals did attack free agency. They did secure some help for the interior of that offensive line. So I was okay going with a little bit more defense on this one. So there are your Bengals mock drafts. If you guys have done any mock drafts lately, share them on the page. I want to see what you're thinking. I'll share the link. After the show tonight, I'll share the link on where I was doing the mock drafts. It's pretty. Shout out to Travis Parker, by the way. Travis, love you, buddy. Hope you and the family are doing well. Beautiful baby girl. Congratulations to you and Lauren. Sharing that with me. Very big help. Appreciate it. We're about halfway through the show here. And I need another beer. Excuse me. And we're back. I've strategically placed this studio very close to the refrigerator. So yeah, if you guys have done any mock drafts lately, let me know. I want to see them. Lions, Bengals, Browns, especially Browns actually. Like I said at the beginning of the show, if you didn't catch it, like it's tough, man. It's really tough doing a mock draft for a team that I don't know as much about. I listen to sports talk radio here in Detroit, so I know about the Lions relatively, I'd say. I don't think I could name every down lineman on the defensive side of the ball like I can for the Bengals, but I know kind of the feeling of the Lions. The Bengals obviously have a sick obsession with that team, so I know them very well. And the Browns, it's tough for me to stay on top of them. It'd be a lot of work. So I do try, I do work at it. But if you guys have been doing any mock drafts for the Browns at 26 there, let me know. I want to see them. I did do one, and we will cover that tonight. But let's get into the Lions a little bit. And I posted some of these on the page, and I'll post all of them later tonight. I ended up doing 5 mock drafts for the Lions. I thought it was way more interesting at that 7th overall pick to do. There's so many more options because I want to check this out right now. Where the Lions are kind of positioned right there at 7, they're kind of buffering in between some people that desperately need a quarterback. So you've got the Bengals at 5, then you got the Eagles at 6. I'm assuming they're going to roll with Jalen there in Philly. So I don't really think the Eagles are going to be somebody that's going to be poaching a quarterback there in the top 10. And then you got the Lions at 7. And then after the Lions, you've got two teams that really, really need a quarterback. And you're looking at Carolina and you're looking at Denver. And you go down a little bit further and you can see even more. You can see San Francisco at 7, or excuse me, at 12. New England at 15. Vegas at 17. Washington at 19. So you've got some teams. So the Lions are in a really interesting position because those later teams that I just mentioned know for a fact that if there are, one of these top 4 guys available at the quarterback position, Carolina and Denver are probably, at least one of them is going to take one. So it would behoove them to pick up the phone and call Allen Park and say, "Hello, Lions. We would like that 7th pick. Here are a boatload of picks." So I want to kind of dive into what I did with the Lions here. The first one, I didn't get into trading. I just went right at number 7. What can we do to improve the Lions long term with the 7th overall pick? And I took Trey Lance, quarterback, North Dakota State. Like I mentioned, buddy of mine, Dale, had commented that you're going to get an A+ rating if you take quarterback every time, and we did get an A+ rating on this draft pick. But I am of the opinion that you have Goff sitting there. You don't have an immediate need at quarterback right now. Can you take Trey Lance at 7, sit him on the bench behind Goff for a minimum of 1 year, allow him to continue to develop, and then shuffle him out there in 2022? Yes, I think you can do that. I think it'd be smart because I think he's good. I'm going to watch some more film on him this week as we continue to dive in. This is going to be kind of an evolving show where, last week we talked a little bit about free agency and the teams in general. This week we're talking a little bit more specific about the picks. And then I want to kind of break into these individual players and start analyzing them a little bit more. So that being said, if there is somebody that, you think would be good at 7 for the Bengals, or excuse me, 5 for the Bengals, 7 for the Lions, or 26 for the Browns, drop it in our page, comment it here on this video, let us know. Let us, like I got a team, let me know, and I'll look into it. So 7, we got Trey Lance. 41, Jabril Cox, LSU. I already talked about him for the Bengals. And then Creed Humphrey, center out of Oklahoma. Now, do the Lions have a need at center? Absolutely not. They have probably one of the best centers in the league right now in Frank Ragnow out of Arkansas. And the reason I know so much about Frank Ragnow is because I really, really wanted the Bengals to take him the same year that the Lions did. I believe the Lions were picking 1 just before the Bengals, and they took Frank Ragnow, and a little piece of me died that night, and we ended up with Billy Price, and the rest, as they say, is history. So do they have a need there? No. Do I think if you play center, you can play guard? Yes, absolutely. I've done it personally. I know that you can. There's not a whole lot of difference in the inside of that line. Getting out to playing tackle, that's very different. Very different. But, going from center to guard, the transition isn't that big. So with the second draft, I did get a little frisky on the trade side. With the 7th pick, though, we still stuck with it, and we addressed a need. PFF identifies linebacker and edge rusher as the main needs for the Detroit Lions this year. And so I went with Micah Parsons, linebacker out of Penn State, getting a lot of buzz right now in terms of, who the best linebacker available is. Then when we get to 39, I traded with the Steelers, got 2 draft picks within the top 100. Then one of which was the 56th pick. Traded that again to the Houston Texans, got another pick within the top 100, 67th, and then the 108 pick. So these couple of trades, back-to-back trades, they were graded a B- on PFF. Back-to-back trades allowed the Lions to have 6 picks within the top 113. that, I mean, if you can pull that off, you're getting some solid quality. Six players in the top 113 prospects on the big board. I mean, that's what you want. That's a lot. That's how you revamp a entire roster in one draft. 67, we got Marvin Wilson, defensive interior out of Florida State. Najee Harris out of Alabama was there at 71. Now, I got a C plus grade, which I don't view that as a good grade on when I'm doing these mock drafts on the Najee Harris pick. Um, in my mind, carry on's done. You can't sit there and tell me that carry on Johnson is going to get better in terms of health. That he's going to just pop off. Maybe he'll have one good, a couple, one or two really good years, but is he going to be a bellwether back? I don't think so. Um, you got DeAndre Swift now that they drafted last year. A little bit of injuries last year too. He had some injuries in college similar to carry on. And then you got Adrian Peterson, who is an enigma. He is a freak of nature. There's zero explanation for why Adrian Peterson is as productive as he is right now at this age with all of the touches. And I think they just interviewed Adrian Peterson. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm coming back, and I still have my eyes set on breaking Emmitt Smith's record, which would be amazing. If in my lifetime, see two running backs break the all-time yards record. That would be cool. I've always enjoyed watching Adrian Peterson, but do I think that he's going to be somebody that you can rely on in the backfield? No. So let's a couple years down the road, Peterson's gone, Kerryon Johnson's gone, and you only have DeAndre Swift, and then like some guy as your pick via PFF. Um, I don't know how accurate that is. Like I said, in the coming weeks, we're going to kind of dive in a little bit and talk about these guys, especially the ones that I've picked with the first pick for each respective team. Okay, posted this one on the page too. If you're joining our show now, we're basically rolling through some mock drafts. I already covered the Bengals. I'll post those on the page later tonight. Covered the Bengals mock drafts. I did three of them. Did five for the Lions. And we're on the third one right now. Just going to cover the first, three or four picks here for each of these. We don't need to get into these late rounds. So with the first pick, I traded. I said earlier that the Lions are in a position there at 7 to trade this pick. If you're joining the video, say hi in the chat. I want to know who's watching. I appreciate you guys. Share the video on your page. That'd be awesome. But so I traded that first seventh pick to the Broncos. Like I said, you got a couple of teams right after the Lions that are vying for. You got the Panthers and the Broncos. So the Broncos, it would make sense for them to get up to 7 to bypass the Panthers so to make sure that they can pick their quarterback, not giving up a whole lot of draft capital, right? Because the Lions would only be moving down 2 picks. And then you got to assume that the Panthers are probably going to take a quarterback there or, best player available. So the Lions are still going to get some really good value out of that 9. And then you're basically just adding a very early second round pick. So I got 9 and 41. Excuse me, I got 9 of first rounder next year and the 41st pick for giving up 7. I don't know how you pass that up as the Lions. You're just moving back 2 spots. You're getting another second round pick this year and a first round pick next year. I think you do that every time. I think the Broncos do that every time too. That's not giving up a whole lot in terms of the Broncos. You're giving up 2 picks this year and a pick next year to move up 2 spots and get your guy. I think you do that if you're the Broncos every time. I think you do that if you're the Lions every time. You don't have a super big need at 7. So then we got Quiddy Payne, edge rusher out of Michigan, and I got an F on this one. Brutal grade, man. I think that was a pretty good pick. And then we went with another need addresser. Got Jabril Cox again. This guy keeps popping up for the Bengals, and well, he popped up once for the Bengals, but keeps popping up for Lions and Browns particularly. They both have needs on defense. Um, the Browns are pretty much a solid defense away from competing for a Super Bowl. So Jabril Cox, a name that I'm definitely gonna start watching some film on Jabril Cox in the coming weeks. I'll post some videos once I see him. So then we got that 41st pick again, and I actually traded that again. I moved back 4 picks in exchange for the 45th pick and the 98th pick with the Los Angeles Chargers. I gave up that 41st pick, and I got Liam Eichenberg at 45. Liam Eichenberg, tackle out of Notre Dame, another guy that the Bengals could have their eyes on in the second round. Like I said, let's say Penei goes number 5 to the Dolphins, and Jamar Chase is gone, and they're not really comfortable taking Kyle Pitts at 5, which is fine. The Bengals could trade out of 5 and get Eichenberg in the second round with ease, and he would be a good pick. I'm definitely going to start looking into him as well. Some of these names. What's up, Diddles? Nick Covey, good to see you, buddy. Appreciate you joining the chat. Might know this name, Liam Eichenberg, a little bit. There, Nick. Tackle. Out of Notre Dame, he didn't give up any pressures. I mean, this guy is just a model of consistency, and that's what you want. You want somebody that's gonna perform for you and protect that Fabergé egg, Joe Burrow. Or in the Lions' case, they don't have a bad offensive line. They're about middle of the road. The Lions are in terms of their offensive line, but if you can get quality picks and even improve upon that offensive line, why wouldn't you, right? So that was the thought process there. And then at 71, look who's peeking his head back is Najee Harris. Again, I'm not going to beat a dead horse here, but if you can get him, take him. He's that good. All right. Quickly now, traded again with the Broncos in the next mock draft. Um, and got on the 9th overall pick, we took Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase fell to 9. 9. I'm telling you guys, this guy is gonna be a star. There's no question in my mind. Jamar Chase is a star in the making. So if the Lions can get him at 9, and let's just say they franchise tag Galladay, and he's not gone. Marvin Jones is probably going to be gone. But if you have Galladay and Jamar Chase for Jared Goff, I'm not saying wild card. Okay, I'm not saying the Lions are going to get a wild card spot. But they might. But they might. That offense would be productive, to say the least. So this one's actually really interesting. At 9, I got Jamar Chase. At 40, one of the picks that I got, uh, one of the picks that I got from the Broncos, Alex Leatherwood, tackle out of Alabama. This guy is huge. Just the size is it's unbelievable. Absolute monster. I think he's like 320 pounds or something stupid like that. He's just massive, and he's good. He had an injury at the end of the season, which you never really want to see, especially for a guy that big, being a knee injury. A little bit harder, longer recovery time. But man, is he big. Man, is he strong. I think he's going to be a stud. I'm excited to see where he goes. And then the interesting part is we got 40 and then 41 here for the Lions. Mac Jones, quarterback out of Alabama at 41, was available. Do I think he's going to be there at 41? No. I don't think he falls that far. There's a lot of talks that Mac Jones could be one of the top 3 quarterbacks taken. It could very well go Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Mac Jones. Do I see that? No. I don't think Mac Jones is a top 3 quarterback in this draft, but it could happen. And then at 71, Najee was there. I mean, Lions probably won't take another running back right now, but I've had him in 3 mock drafts going to the Lions. um, so the next one we didn't trade the 7th pick, but we did improve the wide receiver room. We got Jalen Waddle, and obviously injured at the end of the season last year. You know, kind of well, some might say he even got rushed out there in the national championship game. Didn't play a whole lot, but there's a lot of comps that we're seeing to like Tyreek Hill. Just his top end speed is ridiculous. So, and we know what he did the year prior. We know who Jalen is. So if he can get healthy and get back there and into what he was doing, he's going to be a weapon somewhere. I think he goes in the top 10 for sure. Then we did some mid-round trades with the 49ers and with the Jaguars there. I'm not going to get too much into it. So we've got some targets, right? There's some names there for the Lions, and the Lions. And you're in that top 5, you take them. Um, okay, real quick. For the Browns, like I said, man, 26 is a hard pick to mock draft. I think I've said it like 3 or 4 times tonight. It's tough. I don't know the top 26 prospects. But we went ahead and addressed the need with Jeremiah Owusu Karoma. I don't know if I said that name right, but that's a linebacker out of Notre Dame. We got an A+ pick. He's a top prospect in terms of him and Micah Parsons. I think are the top 2 linebackers right now. So that's who we took for the Brownies there at the 26th pick. Just a couple other notes on we went defense with the first 2 picks. A lot of trades. I made a lot of trades with the Browns in these mid-round picks, and the thought process was for this draft was we need defense, right? If you're the Browns, you need defense. So I'm not gonna reach on a defender if I think he's gonna be available in a couple of picks. So I traded a lot. Traded the 58th to the Bills in return for the 62nd and 93rd. And then I traded the 62nd pick to the Eagles for the 70th and the 84th. Then I traded the 70th to the Broncos for the 73rd and the 114th. So you ended up, if you're the Browns, you ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 picks in the top 100. Very good. Likely, probably not. I don't think there'd be that many people making deals like that. I don't think the Browns would want to make that many deals. I think that eventually they're just like, all right, let's take our guy for this pick. But it's fun to do in the mock drafts. So I did it. So we went linebacker, then safety, Jamie and Sherwood out of Auburn. Then we went wide receiver, Jalen Darden, wide receiver out of North Texas. The Browns don't have a need at wide receiver right now, but they might in the future, like in the next year or two. Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. aren't getting younger. No. Are they still very productive? Absolutely. I think Jarvis is more more useful to them, more useful to Baker than OBJ. If I'm the Browns, I'm shopping him, trying to get him off my books. One, and just kind of free up that wide receiver room and draft a wide receiver. Build wide receivers to the draft every time. Jamin Davis, linebacker, Kentucky, and then Shakur Brown, corner, Michigan State, at the 91st pick. Saw a good write up on him. I do want to look into more about Shakur. I want to see maybe a good target for a late pick for the Bengals too. If William Jackson III isn't on the team next year, we're gonna need some help at that corner position. Bad. So Shakur Brown for the Browns there at corner. And they don't really need corner as bad as they need like front seven. Excuse me. Front seven for the Browns. Talked to a good buddy of mine. Oh, sorry, earthquake test. Talked to a good buddy of mine last night as I was beating that ass in some Madden. um, Aaron, good buddy of mine, talking. I was like, so what do you need? Like, if you're there, what do you draft? And he's just like defense. Don't even draft anything offense in the first two picks. I don't want it. So that was my mindset with that, with those drafts. So the Browns, and not specifically just defense, front seven. Down linemen or linebackers, edge rushers, linebackers. Those are the needs identified. Um, by PFF. Let's see here. How's everybody doing out there? We're wrapping up here in just a little bit. Didn't get to much as what I wanted to talk about. Should we go long? I got a little bit more beer left. What about you guys? Should we go a little long tonight? Appreciate you stopping by. If we could just go ahead and like the page, like the video, share the video with your friends. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. It's good to see everybody. So, next week we will. No, we'll talk about it tonight. We'll talk about it tonight. I'll stay for a little bit longer. And I want to talk about Ken Riley. And if you don't know, I talked about him last week. Ken Riley is number 5 all time in the NFL with interceptions. Is one of the only people to do it as a cornerback for the entirety of his career. And he's one of the only people to do it with the same team for the entirety of his career. But he is also the only one on the top 5 interceptions all time list that is not in the Hall of Fame. And that's a problem. A lot of the reason behind that, people tend to think that it's because small market didn't get recognition. I also tend to believe that it has a little bit to do with the team. The Bengals generally don't celebrate their past as much as other teams. There's no Ring of Honor. There's no Bengals Hall of Fame. They don't retire numbers, things like that. So why would the NFL do it? So there's kind of been a underground movement happening amongst Bengals fans, led by 2 prominent Bengals podcasters. They're called Zim Hude and Ace Boogie. Follow them on Twitter. Awesome podcast called Orange is the New Black, for all your Bengals needs as well. Other than, obviously, don't leave line to gain. We love you guys. But another very good podcast. If you're not getting enough, if you need more. Anyway, so they had Ken Riley Jr., his son, on the show. They're creating a documentary highlighting the career of Ken Riley. There's a petition moving around right now for everyone to sign. We posted on the page. If you got a minute, just check it out. It doesn't take a whole lot. You just sign the petition that Ken Riley should be in the Hall of Fame. And not only that, there is a demonstration that has been permitted. So they obtained permits from the city of Canton, Ohio. There's a demonstration of Bengals fans, Ken Riley fans, that is going to be happening at the Pro Football Hall of Fame at some point. I don't know when, but it's in the works. It's getting very close to happening. So what you're seeing is kind of like Bengals fans, putting their foot down and saying, like, this is unacceptable. We're going to get our guy in the Hall of Fame. Pretty cool. I don't know. So what did I do? How did I show my support? Well, I went on eBay. And I got a mint condition Ken Riley card. Headed our way, baby. That's right. I think I spent $2.50. I think it totaled out to like $3.50 with shipping. Hopefully by this time next week on our next show, I'll be able to debut our mint condition Ken Riley card. Like football cards, basketball cards, they're exploding right now. They're like the value is just absolutely insane right now. So I'm kind of banking on, maybe Ken gets in the Hall of Fame and then this card just like the value of this card just is astronomical. Wanted to talk a little bit about the Elizabeth Blackburn note that came out. Um, Kind of going over the hour tonight, so I'm not really going to get into that. We'll talk about it next week. I don't think anything's going to come out from now to then. So we'll go into that a little bit. Kind of, you can. I posted on the page. Feel free to read it. But winds of change, different ways of thinking, holding the organization accountable as the Bengals. Um, just different. Anytime you hear from the Blackburns, you typically leave feeling better about the team than when you hear from Mike Brown. You know, it's stale. When it comes from Mike Brown, it's stale. We've heard it before. It doesn't do anything for me. When I read Elizabeth Blackburn's memo to the fans, to the city of Cincinnati, I got goosebumps a couple of times. And maybe it's, I'm a fool for love, but I forgot the last 30 years and I saw myself at some point in the future like with tears of joy on a Sunday in February watching, the Bengals host a Lombardi trophy. It just different talk. Different talk. And maybe it's a sales pitch. I'm buying it right now, right? Maybe it's a sales pitch, but we'll find out. Proof will be in the pudding. We'll see what happens. We got a long way to go, boys and girls. It's still about 60 days from draft. Still over 175 days till football is actually back. But we'll be here for it. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. See you next week. Have a good night.